This is the kind of shit that drove. They're clicking us in. Hey, Nick, you there? There's Ash. Hey, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, hear you fine. How's our sound?
Sounds good. We're just getting Riley and Beamer on here.
Oh,
What's up, Greg?
Hey,
we're gonna.
how you doing?
We got we're gonna have Beamer's gonna get on, and we're gonna have Chris Tatchke and Mike are live from the show down there. Where's your screen? Where's your materials exchange screen, Mike?
It's over in the Trust Builders show. So what's going on is they have. So I'm just gonna move this. They split the show up between the Framers Summit and the BCMC.
Yeah.
So the booth is over there. Over here, we just have a table. We just listened to a pretty good panel. Some lumber guys up there talking about what they're seeing for the lumber market.
Yeah. It's
Gotcha.
interesting.
Hey, Greg,
Chris,
do you know Chris? Oh, Greg, can you hear me?
Greg,
Yes.
Hey, do you know Chris?
Hey, Chris.
I don't know. Yeah, how you doing?
Good. Chris,
So,
what's
Greg,
your last name?
Tatchy. You're a turnkey framer up in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah. Good stuff.
let's just get Matt. Let me just text Matt, make sure he's getting on.
you know what? He was there a minute ago. It appeared.
You know, Ash, you'll be happy to know that I talked to Matt earlier, and I got my rant out of the day out of the way.
Okay. All right. Good. Good.
Well, Ash, why don't we just get going and introduce Chris? Kind of tell the listeners who Chris is, and let Chris give you a little spiel on what he's seeing in the market. So, Chris Tatchke is the owner of DC Construction and now, Construction and DC Materials.
Yep.
And he is a turnkey framer, which, what's the definition of a turnkey framer these days?
Supply lumber and labor for large multifamily buildings.
So the general contractor will hire Chris to come in with wood and people.
Yep. I can show up with labor, components, trusses, all the loose material. GC only has to deal with me. Doesn't have to deal with a separate CM, lumber supplier, labor supplier.
And you give like one price for like completed build.
The whole package. Yeah. So, trusses show up wrong. It's on me. The general contractor's not dealing with some framer who wants to make up for his labor losses, all that mess. I manage the whole process, and I've got a financial interest in it all going well and getting the site properly, right? So it's a great system for delivering wood.
And so you only do the multifamily, or do you do any single family also?
In my market, I'm the only turnkey guy, and I only do multifamily. But you get out on the East Coast, like Bruce Jones, for example, he does single family. He does it really well. We're just not geared for it, and we don't have the track builders. It works really well with like a DR Horton, and those guys just aren't up in our part of the country, and so there's not enough to repeat to make it work well.
But I think it's important to note, once you don't put any drywall on the inside, no electrical, no plumbing. It's the straight framing of the building. You put the windows in?
Yeah, we put the windows in.
Okay.
Siding? Do you do siding? You put the siding on?
No, we don't do any siding. And that
Can you hear me?
Siders do it as a pass through, so it's really hard
Hold
to
on.
compete on the materials.
Can you hear me on my headphone?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Matt, I hear you.
You
I
can't
don't
see me. Okay. Well, let me work on that while you guys talk.
So what I wanted to do today with Chris was obviously the market has been really busy for turnkey framers.
Yep.
I know your business itself has grown substantially in the last 3 years.
It has.
What's the backlog like? What do you see for the next 6 months, 12 months? And Chris's market is Madison, Wisconsin.
That's correct. Yep, southern Wisconsin generally. Um, right now, we've got work through the end of this year.
Okay.
And we're still seeing plenty of plans, jobs out on the multifamily side. The size of those jobs has shrunk. Generally, pre-COVID, we're seeing plans 60 to 100,000 square feet.
Okay.
I've got 3 jobs going right now that are over 200,000 square feet. And now the plans I'm seeing are scaled back again. So I don't know what that speaks to on the real estate side of things. That's what I'm seeing. We had a glut of work to bid, and we're seeing a lot to bid, but it's back to manageable state.
So when the size of the projects
Yeah.
shrinks, is it less buildings or the
Mike,
buildings?
size matters. Mike,
Size does matter.
So the building itself buildings themselves are actually smaller. So Madison, Wisconsin has always been 60,000 to 100,000 square feet, right?
Okay.
And we're seeing kind of have returned back to that, whereas it got a lot bigger for a real quick period of time.
And
Hey,
is it
Mike, when I ask, can I just so you talked about the backlog through the end of the year.
Yeah.
Is that a normal backlog, small backlog, or big backlog?
It's for
90
this
days,
time.
essentially.
For this time, what's normal? I would say we'd normally have at least one winter project, on the books. Right now, we don't.
And at your peak, how many months backlog did you have? I mean, the first quarter of this year, how far backlog were you?
10 months.
10 months. So
10
you've
months.
gone from 10 months to 3-month backlog. Okay.
Yep, that's correct.
and that you could have gone more than 10 months if you wanted back then, right?
Yes, absolutely. Now, talking with some of my colleagues at the Framer Summit, it sounds like a lot of them are into Q2 of next year with their work, and
Wow.
a lot of these guys are East Coast, down through Texas, but there's not a lot of optimism amongst the framers for 2024.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
sort of the chatter is that developers are not buying dirt, and if they're not buying the dirt right now, then that's gonna move us out into 2024 being a lot slower time.
Are they waiting for the dirt to get cheaper?
And this is all just framers speculating about what developers are thinking, but we're saying that they're on the sidelines waiting for costs to come down, right?
Okay.
A cost that's probably not going to come down. And you add on top of that that they can't lock in interest rates on potential projects for a year out after you start working on getting something going. That's a huge variable for them. So
Interesting.
Well, and Chris, like you guys are at the Framer Summit. It'd be fascinating to get, kind of the differences in the regions. Like you said, is like East Coast. Well, is that like Middle Atlantic? Is it Southeast? One of the places that we've heard that business is probably slowing faster than others is the Southwest U.S. And that's not necessarily multifamily. That's that's maybe more heavily weighted towards single family. But it'd be Mike, your job.
All right. I'll see if I can sniff that
Mike,
out.
on the regional dichotomies.
I think that's a big deal.
absolutely.
What about lumber? Like, what is you and your colleagues? What is the feeling around the lumber market?
It's interesting. We get feedback from the people that we buy from, and everybody's really lean on inventory right now, right? And I've only been buying and selling lumber for 3 years, a little more than 3 years. So I'm still very much learning, but I think over the last 3 years, turnkey framers, while they understand sort of the way that a 2x4 gets job site, and they've kind of always understood that because it's their business, have really dived a lot deeper into that and understanding the supply chain.
Because they got thrown into the
because we've
fire.
had to, right?
Right.
I think I think that we're all still running on a lot of, I don't want to say fear, but everybody remembers what we've been through in the last 2 years, and we're being as cautious as the traders are. We're continuing with that very high level of communication with our customers. What I'm curious about is sort of the way that the supply chain was established over the last decades and decades. It was established the way it was because lumber was generally pretty stable. $30 swing was a huge swing, right? And this new area that we're operating in, you've got certain suppliers that have built themselves on the stability of the lumber market. Is there still a place for them? Can they manage that kind of risk and still, if I need a prompt truck, I need a prompt truck, right? But if you're not going to hold any inventory, well, what good are you to me? And so, how's the overall supply chain going to change because of the new way that vendors are operating to manage their risk? That's what's interesting to me.
It is a challenge,
I mean,
right?
can I ask one question real quick of Chris? So
Sure.
when you have a project, do you bulk buy all of the material for that project and have it shipped and staged someplace, or do you buy it for, hey, I'm going to need, X number of trucks of studs spread over 60, 90, 100?
I work with a trader who does forward pricing for me and holds the risk, and I pay a little more, obviously, for that. And that's my system that I'm very comfortable with. Again, so
you buy all
it's
your lumber
working
from
now.
one supplier? You buy everything from one supplier?
No, he's an avid materials exchange user as well, of course.
I am a materials exchange user.
So he gets look at the big market then.
Yes.
Generally, I'll buy all my list material from one supplier. I'll buy all my components from one component manufacturer. Lumber's very much a relationship business, and I understand that side of things really well. But I do pick up parts and pieces here and there from multiple sources. Just you want to be buying from a lot of places because you don't want to get caught with your pants.
Correct. And one theme
Hey,
that
Chris-
came out of this last presentation was the turnkey framers are really thirsty for information.
Yeah.
And what they were asking, how do we learn more? How do we know where the market is?
Mm-hmm.
And
this is a really good start. This week with lumber is a great start.
Of course.
Absolutely.
I had a question for Chris. Mike, Chris, it's Ash. As you said, the supply chain has developed over decades and decades and decades. Like you're a new incumbent into this into the buying of lumber over the last few years. What kind of pushback do you get from people?
Like I mentioned,
If that's a fair question,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely. I'm the only turnkey framer in Wisconsin, so I'm sort of this anomaly for the local wholesalers. They don't know exactly how to deal with me, how to approach me, and so I've had to go in and really cast a vision for, why my system is a better way to get lumber out into the field, right? And I've had to sell the wholesalers on why they should be selling me, and I've been turned down a lot. I've had accounts closed, and I've had to go and defend my business successfully quite a few times. But it's definitely a struggle to do something new and different. Absolutely.
All right, hey guys, we're gonna have to hop because they're gonna start here in just a few minutes. Matt, do you have any questions for Chris now that you've come on board? Oh, we can't hear Matt.
Can't hear Matt.
Well,
we can see Matt. He's like children and dogs, seen but not heard.
All right. Well, we're going to hop because they're about to start up the next presentation. We'll see you guys tomorrow with Matt Lehman here from the show. And thanks so much
Have a great show,
for
Mike.
letting us interrupt. All right. Take care.
Take care, guys.
Matt, we'll see if we can hear you now once they kick out. You're still muted there.
So you can hear us, Matt, but we can't hear you.
So we're in his headset. Can you try
click this button that says mute, unmute? Anyhow, well that's disappointing. Well, that was great. That from the show, huh?
Yeah, no doubt. Hold on a second. Matt, try clicking the settings on the cog wheel down below. That little cog next to the plus button. And let's see if that will get your if you try that, settings, audio, and then your audio output, and see if that's set to the same as your audio input.
Video killed the radio.
That was good having him from the show today. We'll see who else we can get. We're just getting Matt's audio hooked back up here. See if we can make that work.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I look at, the reason I asked the question was in the first quarter you had a 10-month backlog.
Matt, I'm going to call you, and
know,
just get
if
you.
we
I'm going to
talk
call
to
you and get you on the phone, and then we'll just run it through my speaker. That's cool. Let me do that right now.
Okay.
Hey, Greg.
Yes.
All right, we got Matt now. Matt, you hear Greg? It'll be a little bit janky, but we'll get it to work. Okay. There we go.
How's that?
Yeah, we can hear you just fine. You hear Matt? Okay, Greg.
I cannot hear Matt.
You cannot hear me?
I hear an echo in the background.
Let me get over the speaker. Well, Matt's on. I can hear him here on my speaker here. I've just got to get him to come through my $250 computer to make sure that works okay. There you go. Well, look at, so that was decent live. Now we lost Matt.
Maybe he's going to try and come back in. We need to, we need to up our tech on for the show, Ash. I think we gotta go next level. Whatever that means.
Yeah, I'll get our IT department on that. Let me get it.
Now that you got it, now that you got a big corporate headquarters. Well, it was great that Wisniewski was able to come in just fine. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, Beam, are you still with me on the phone, Beam? Matt?
I think he's just out. Well, what do you want to do, Ash? You want to go
Let's talk about
how's it going over there?
It's going good. It's going good. For some reason, everything worked fine until we tried to bring somebody in from a different location. But it is what it is. So, what some of the things that we're dealing with right now, we've got the impending rail strike out there. Everybody's talking about. It sounds like everybody except the engineers and conductors or whatever, the engineers have settled stuff out there. What's your thought there? Same as mine?
My thought is the history of Chris said he's only been buying lumber for 3 years. As you know, Ash, you and I have been doing this a little bit longer than that.
Yes.
And the history of every rail strike is, number one, it's, a whole lot of hype. And number two, whatever they end up being, they don't last very long. So,
right.
My general sense is that, my joke is, oh, there's a rail strike. Well, then why would I buy a car of lumber from a mill? Right. I'm
Right,
like, okay. So, I heard lots of guys in distribution that, oh, we're going to raise our prices because we're going to get more money for it. That never works either. So anyhow, I think you and I talked about this about a week, 10 days ago, was that the market felt like it was oversold and it was kind of short. And, this is just a good excuse for, to get a little bit of short covering. And if we look at, what the market's done over the last 3 months, every 4 to 6 weeks, we have a short covering rally. I guess I'll bring up, the big question is I did a LinkedIn poll about, what was that, over Labor Day weekend. And, the interesting thing about it is, it was like, hey, the market's bottomed now, or it was going to the mid-low 400s, or it was going below 400. And 83% market thought it was going mid-low 400s or lower. Only, let me get the final number up. 17% said that we were at the low now. At this minute, that 17% are the people that are right. Now, Will they continue to be right over the next 3 months? We'll see in the next week or two or three.
Yeah. What's the other thing that's hanging out there? What about this Weyerhaeuser strike I haven't read too much into that. What have you? That pretty much that affects a lot of the logging in the Pacific Northwest and production out there, right?
Yeah. Well, I think that it's going to tighten the market depending on how long it lasts. Weyerhaeuser is a big producer. Going to have a big impact on green Doug fir market in particular, but also the hem fir market, which will spill over and be supportive for spruce. It'll be interesting to same thing as how long is that going to last, right?
Yeah, so I was on the phone with a person today, and they asked me what my thought was, and I said, hey, I kind of agree with Greg. What he's saying is, the end of the year is probably going at the end of the year, when we tally it all up, we're probably going to have built less houses than we built in 2021. With all the consolidation going on, with the lack of volatility, with the unknown, with the market slowing down slightly, people are more risk averse, which means they're going to keep less inventory in the ground. It also means that wood costs more to keep on the ground now, just with the cost of money. It was kind of a rounding error months or a year ago. Now it costs money to keep wood on the ground. And as these large companies buy these small to mid-sized companies, they want to keep their powder dry from buying more companies, and they're not. From what I'm seeing, they're not deploying capital to build 90, 120 days of inventory anymore, right? With that said, there's not a lot of inventory sitting around people either. How is that going to play out over the next 30, 60, 90 days as people continue to keep running their inventory down. Business somewhat slows, but still is decent. I mean, how do you mitigate? How do you get in between that? How do you make some money in this market?
I mean, I think one of the bigger Matt's back. We see him. We hear him.
I can't hear him, but I can see him.
I mean, one of the things that I've seen over the last several months is that in general, your statement about inventory is correct. End users have their inventory in line, and if anything, their business kind of continues to be better than what the headline. Like if you watching the stock market or mortgage rates or all the housing data, the market feels like it's a lot better than that. And I think part of that is, if we think about it, the first half of the year, we were on a pace to build 1.7 million houses. And, lumber prices were 4 digits. There was allocation for all sorts of products, siding, I-joist, right? Big lead time for trusses. So we were at a pace that was unsustainable with the supply chain that we had. Now we're probably a lot closer now to, a 1.2 million, 1.3 million pace. And, and that's probably a very sustainable level. Completions last year ran just under 1.3 million. So, we can really build, like, let's just say 1.3 million. That's a really kind of well-balanced situation. And what that tells me is that two things. The customers aren't going to build a big inventory because they're not sure what's out there in the future. But business is enough to start the market here. And as we sit on the cost of production, the market's probably going to bounce plus or minus of the cost of production for a period of time until something changes.
Yeah, good.
How's that? I mean, that was kind of a circular answer, I think.
Yeah, Matt, apologize. When we brought Mike in, I don't know if he signed in with something different, but it somehow knocked us out from what we normally do here. Yeah, no, that was an interesting comment and conversation with Chris today. I thought that was cool. So what it comes down to is we don't have a big sexy market coming up here anymore for the next foreseeable future, right? And interest rates, a full point is priced in coming out here again. I don't know whether that's going to happen or not, but
the wild card ends up being, how much further, what's going to happen to housing if the Fed continues to increase the rates and mortgage rates go from 6.25% to 0.5% or 8%. What's that going to do to housing, right? I mean, we know what it's going to do to housing. It's going to have an impact, and so that's kind of the other shoe to drop. But I mean, in the short term, I mean, it appears that business is good, and we have lots of kind of, I look at noise in that curtailments because of either overall price levels or the Weyerhaeuser strike, the rail situation. You got a lot of noise in the marketplace. A lot of noise.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, I mean, so we've matched some stuff on the platform today. Pine seems to be really fluid, and it's easy to find pine trucks, right? Because that's the nature of pine. They make them. They're prompt. They put them on the ground. You ship trucks. But meanwhile, we have a Doug fir. Somebody's looking for a 2x4 9-foot Doug fir into the Midwest here. One truckload of it, and can't find it anywhere. There's a couple people offering it out from all over the place. Where 4 months ago, that stuff was everywhere, sitting around. And I had multifamily people trying to sell it back to me. Same people I call now, I can't find a truck of that sitting anywhere.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And let's look at your inventory, for instance. Where's your inventory sitting at right now?
I'd say I have more inventory today than I've had at any time in the last 3 or 4 months. But I mean, in the big picture, it's relatively lean, and relatively lean and turning. I'm in the market at this point, buying and selling every day, just turning it. I'm not building it. I'm not really trying to build an inventory. But I'm also not, needing to deplete it. I kind of want to keep it at a relatively low level turning.
Sure. No, that makes absolute sense.
Now, one of the things I wanted to bring up is we talked about this over several months is, the things that were going to be necessary to look at, the market potentially bottoming. And, the two things that I said were, one, futures being a premium to the cash market, which just went there. Mills being prompt shipment, which, I can say in the East, I had a number of mills over the last several weeks that had been, 3 and 4 weeks out in shipment, be prompt in shipment. So, I kind of look at that, that and with the poll and say, hey, you have to respect the fact the market may be in a bottom. And then my next question is, okay, if it is a bottom, what's the upside? Are we going to go back to, as Chris alluded to, the historic, hey, the long-term average was $130 trading range, right? But we had years where the market traded, in a $50 or $60 price range.
Right.
Could we be in for a case where over some period of time, the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months that we're trading in a $50 or $60 range total?
Yeah. Which, if you built up a big trading floor and have all kinds of traders and your business model is for big $100 swings, you got to reconsider what you're doing.
It's, I just kind of look and go, if you look at, if we go back to physics 101 and we look at Newton's law, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. After a period that we've had over the last several years of the historic volatility, I think you have to respect the fact that you could be in for a long period where the market just lays and trades in a relatively narrow band.
Yeah, that doesn't sound.
That's I was out on the road and seeing a lot of people over the last few days, and there's a big body of folks that that think we're going to have as much or more as we've ever had. So we'll see. That's, as they say, that's why they play the game. How about that Bears win over the weekend, huh?
Yeah,
that was to say it was sloppy would be an understatement.
What they call winning. Do we have the Packers next week?
We got Packers Sunday night. They either Minnesota is really, really good, or they got some issues up there in Green Bay.
Rule number 1: don't drop the ball.
I hate when it hits me in the hands and I do that, right?
Yeah. They'll figure it out. That's why they're professionals. All right. Well, cool. We're up against half an hour. Too bad Matt couldn't get going.
Hopefully we can get that going. And so, we got a lot of stuff up on the website. We're matching trades today in pine. I don't know. I haven't seen any spruce orders. I haven't had my chainsaw hasn't gone off with spruce orders, but I'm waiting.
Yeah, we had over 18 trucks, a 2x4 12-foot Euro listed yesterday. You had some of those, but a couple other people came in on Euro. So we'll put some more Euro up today. Send a push out to people to get on and start bidding on that. We got a lot of bids up there. Also, people are looking for some 2x10 random, some 2x4 14-foot trucks in the Midwest, along with some OSB out to the Denver market. So there's a lot of stuff on there that's getting bid right now.
Oh, good deal. That was good.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Week. See ya.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.